Welcome to Excel Beyond Boundaries, episode 16 with Sal Vittorio, who is a bodybuilding coach, entrepreneur, and also an active competitor within bodybuilding. Thank you for joining me today, Sal.
Man, thank you for having me on here. Super excited for this conversation. It's going to be a good time.
Thank you. Likewise. I'll start out with a deep question. Jumping right in. What does Excel Beyond Boundaries mean to you personally?
Yeah, man, I love this. So I know we were chatting a little bit before we started recording, and I like what you said about exceeding our own limitations because I think a lot of the times we all play a little bit small. And for me, that's why I've grown to love bodybuilding because every day, right, and you know this, another plate, another rep, you're pushing past your own mind of what you thought you're capable of, and you could take those character traits that you develop and apply that to everything. Like I never thought I'd be able to quit my 9 to 5 4 years ago when I started my business, but here we are. So to answer your question, what it means to me is constantly pushing the envelope of what you think is possible, which is similar to what you said, but I take all of the things that I've learned to try and apply it to the people around me. I think that's the biggest thing. I pride myself on trying to make sure that every interaction I have is meaningful. And I always want to be somebody that is bringing something to the table. I never want to have my hand out constantly. So I'm always trying to leave people, places, and things better than I found them, if that makes sense.
I like that. That's a great mentality. And to provide some perspective for the listeners, where you're at now with your accomplishments as a coach, how many clients do you have right now?
I'd have to double check. Somewhere in the 40s, I want to say.
And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, killing it with that monthly income, that reoccurring. You've accomplished a lot at such a young age. So then to take it back, where did you begin? What inspired you to begin your fitness journey and your entrepreneurial journey?
Man, how much time we got? When I actually, I don't know if I shared this with you, man, but actually, when I was growing up in high school, I was actually overweight most of my life.
Really?
Yeah, I actually, what started my fitness journey at 17, which was a little over a decade ago now, was actually kidney stones.
Whoa.
Yeah, I had some very poor eating habits. I mean, growing up, you don't really know what nutrition is, right? And high school football, all they do is pump you full of pizza and chicken wings. In high school, we actually had a chicken wing eating contest, the players versus the coaches, and I won the whole thing. So
That's funny.
yeah, so I had some really bad habits there. But anyway, to answer your question, I looked up and I was like 250, 60 pounds, give or take. And I was like, yeah, I want to do something about this. So long story short, I started going to the gym with my dad. And at first I hated it. I had a lot of gym anxiety. I had no idea what I was doing. I was so stubborn. But I actually ended up losing 60, 70 pounds. And then right there was kind of the buy-in. But it was this all or nothing mentality for a long time. And a lot of people struggle with that. Like, yo, I got to be like, by the book or I'm not going to do this. So I would have these up and down swings for probably like the first 5 to 6 years. But it wasn't until like year 6 heading into 7 where I finally started to crack the code, because after doing all the YouTube videos, the PDFs, you know how it goes, you're looking at every piece of content you get your hands on,
Yeah.
and I finally just got to a place where I wanted to make the change, and I was like really hungry to stop accepting less, because I think we all kind of hit that rock bottom, so to speak. And for me, it was when I graduated college. So that was 2019, being a student athlete my whole life and then trying to come out of that. I almost didn't know who I was. I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah. So like an identity crisis in a sense.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. Um, and then like from there, with not knowing what I wanted to do or what I wanted to pursue career wise, I was almost forced to look internally and like redefine myself. And after letting myself go again, I kind of drew that line in the sand and said, hey, this is going to be the time where like I make it stick. Because for the previous 5 to 6 years of doing it, it wasn't working. And essentially the point that I was trying to make there to make, this all come together was you finally get to a place where you're just kind of sick of tolerating your own shit. And that's where I got, and then from there, I kind of rose again and decided to do that, made another great transformation. And then with those skill sets, I was like, hey, like if I could do this, anybody can. And that's what got me curious into coaching.
I see. That's a great story. So your turning point was that low, finding the inspiration, and then it began your fitness journey. Well, it continued your fitness journey, and then from there you found your inspiration to get into your career.
Yeah. I mean, I left a big piece of that out after college. I fell into a huge depression, and transparently, man, I thought about taking my life.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. I had stumbled upon a job that I wasn't passionate about, just trying to make ends meet, trying to pay back my student loans because I had done 5 years of college. I had transferred. I, didn't get much financial aid. I had to move back in with my parents. Debts racking up. You're trying to figure yourself out, and then you got some weight on top of it. But it was actually funny, man. My mom came home one day with a free 6-month membership. She won in a raffle. And that's kind of what got me going, because that low place that I was in was just like so low. I really didn't see a way out, and the gym fixed me. So I think that was a big piece that I kind of left out there.
That's crazy, the timing. Do you feel like that was meant to be in a sense where she happened to stumble across that free membership, which happened to get you back on the right path?
Yeah, I think the free membership was so pivotal for me because I really couldn't afford a gym membership at the time. That's why I was sharing that, because like I wanted to work out, but like to pay $30, $40 at the time was actually kind of a stretch, because my biggest thing is like my priorities were going out on the weekends and drinking and trying to eat food, So like that was more of a priority to me. So when she won the membership, I was like, okay, like if it's free, I'll go, you know? And it sounds so crazy to say that out loud, being where I am now. Like I never thought I'd be here. And you hear a lot of people talk about that. Well, I never thought I'd be here, but it's like it's crazy to actually live that.
Oh yeah, I can imagine such a drastic transition from then to now.
Crazy.
What was the first challenge, would you say, like when you first began that transition? The
So the
first
fitness
step. Well, more so with that pain point of when you were at rock bottom. That first step was going to the gym, and then what happened next?
Well, I think it was a culmination of a lot of things. Like those emotions that I was dealing with were like kind of brewing for a long time. I vividly remember, and I've posted this on my Instagram, and we could probably talk about this a little bit more too. I remember going to the bar with my buddy Billy, and I had no money at the time. Like, actually, I think I had like negative $5 in my bank account at the time. And he was like, "Dude, I'll buy you drinks, no worries, right?" And it came time to buy him back, and I actually didn't have the money. So like I went to order it, and the guy's like, "Okay, give me your card," and I was like, I literally can't pay for this."
Man.
So I just kind of sat there in that moment, and I was like, "What am I doing? I don't have a job. I'm overweight. I have no priorities. I'm not working out, and I can't even pay someone back for a beer." I just like I like sat in the bathroom, and I was just like, what is this? And that was kind of the pivotal moment. And I can't really remember the exact time frames, but around that time frame was when my mom got the membership. I was starting to get in the gym again, and that's what pulled me out of it. So I think it was like that exact moment where I was like, something's got to give.
I see. That's a very inspiring story, though. From those pain points with how everything unfolded for you, and you made those choices, started making that transition, and seeing you today, that's very inspiring.
Thanks, bro. I
What
appreciate the years. I was trying to do my best to like make it as concise as I can, but packaging up 7 years in like 30 seconds is kind of hard.
Yeah, and honestly, feel free to just, take as long as you'd like to share because you might not recognize how much value is in your story. But me listening and everyone on your live is like dying to hear all the details. So
Thanks.
don't feel like you're going on a rant. This is good stuff for sure.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. If you could go back and give your younger self a short pep talk, what would you say? Like if you could talk to yourself
Mm.
5 years ago, 10 years ago.
I think the biggest thing that stands out there instinctively is just like it's going to be okay. I think a lot of us deal with so much fear and anxiety because we don't know what the next thing is. And there's a lot of uncertainty in that. And I think that's where a lot of people spiral. Myself think, at times too, like I'm still actively dealing with that, because there's so much, especially with entrepreneurship, like you get that, right? It's like, what am I going to do? Well, it's not like a guaranteed paycheck. Like, oh my God. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing that I would say is like that. And also, something that took me a very long time to grasp was removing my ego out of the conversation. And, 'cause especially as dudes, we want to say, I got all the answers. I don't need any help. So I was so reluctant to accept help for a long time. And I think that holds a lot of people back, especially guys. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say more so. Wait, with what part of that would you say?
The part of what would you tell your younger self?
Okay. It's funny. I've never been asked that back on a podcast, but to share, I'll say something similar. I would say to trust the process and live in the present because I would always live in the future and be anxious and trying to get as much done and trying to force growth and force change. Instead of letting things unfold, I would try to force it and control it. Even at my worst, I always had a plan. I'd always be like having a strategy, trying to get myself out of this, out of that, instead of just leaving it in God's hands and just trusting the process.
Mm,
And also to focus on one thing instead of half-assing 9 different things, to just commit to something and get it going.
right. So good, man. I think a
Thank
lot
you.
of us do that for whatever reason. We're always so fixated on like doing 19 things at once. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe from my perspective, it was I think I didn't trust either had a fear of failure or didn't trust myself enough to bring one thing to completion and monetize it. So I kind of threw out like nine different nets,
Mm,
trying to have comfort in the quantity instead of the quality.
mm,
I don't know if it's everyone, but that was, I think, my reasoning.
yeah.
What would you say is yours?
I would say relationship to self stands out to me there. I think a lot of that is predicated based on the confidence that we have. And I think that can be built mainly from integrity. And I think that's where, when I look back to my past, I fell short on that for a long time. Like something as simple as just making your bed, man. Like you got to do it, but sometimes you skip on it. Like that's not me anymore, but it used to be, and that's the point that I was trying to make. There is like integrity solves a lot of people's issues, but that's really the problem. Is I think a lot of people struggle with that, and they're not integral. And then they point the finger and blame the circumstances as to why they don't have what they want. But it's like, man, if you just took more ownership and accountability, you'd probably be in a better spot.
Wow, I like that. Would you say direct correlation, the more that you improve yourself and look within and have that accountability, the more your outside world changes?
100%. I think your success in anything is predicated on the way that you feel and carry yourself. And I know that to be true with what I've dealt with in business and also bodybuilding, because there is a very, very distinct correlation with how I operate and how anybody does with the efforts that they put in. And what's fascinating about that, John, is that all of that to some degree is controllable, which I find fascinating because a lot of us think that we don't have the actual capability to do XYZ, but we do. The problem is we feed the story in our mind that we can. And then we start to believe that and it becomes habitual. And then all these patterns become cemented in our minds about who we think we are. But then it's like a challenge of like, well, is that really the case? And then that's another rabbit hole of a conversation. But that's a lot of the times what I like to do with my clients is just like, well, just holding up a mirror and asking the question, well, is like, is that what you want to be true? And all of a sudden they sit there and like freeze deer in the headlights. It's like, whoa, oh, whoa, whoa. And it's a really good practice, man. Does that make
Man,
sense?
oh no, completely. And it really is truly holistic. I love how a lot of people don't realize that fitness is symbolic of life and it all comes together. And so it's interesting to hear you say that with your clients, how you tap into the mental side to get them on track because, yeah, it's literally all together. You can't separate it.
I mean, you could try, but then you probably wouldn't see as many fruits of your labor as you would like to. There's much more.
True,
Yeah.
true. I've got a funny question, kind of tied in with your whole journey. I know we're just scratching the surface, but if you could name your journey, like if your journey was turned into a movie, what would the title be called?
That's a tough one, man. I don't know if I have an answer for that right now because I'm not done. You know, and I don't know. It might sound kind of shitty, but in my eyes, I feel like there's so much more I can accomplish. So it's like I don't know if it's worth putting it on the big screen yet. And I don't know.
Okay.
It probably could, but it's like I don't know. I see it kind of like there's some movies where it's like it's all right. Like I see my shit as like a Saving Private Ryan or like a Wolf of Wall Street, like a blockbuster. Like I'm not trying to half-ass this shit. So I still feel like I have chapters to add on there yet. So I don't have a true answer right now.
Okay. Then instead of that, what about three words to describe your mindset?
I would say resilient, number one.
Resilient, number one.
If I can give anything to anybody listening, if you take nothing else from this episode right now, like being resilient, man, is just like everything. Because honestly, like I've been going through some things mentally recently. I've been really challenged with a lot of adversity, and it's been difficult. But the attitude that I have is, well, if I don't stop, I gotta figure it out somehow. So I would say resilient, number one. I would say maybe attitude. The attitude goes back to it being controllable, how you show up. And then lastly, I would say either peace or love, because those are two things that I really value. I value my mental peace and just my day to day, and trying to be the most godlike version of myself. I don't know if you've seen The Chosen on Amazon Prime that replicates Jesus in the Bible.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to see that movie.
So it's a series, and you definitely need to watch it. And the reason I was bringing it up is because I try to really think about like, well, how can I be more like Christ? Like how can I try to just in every conversation, like I was saying at the beginning, just try to pour so much like love and like charisma into what I do so that people feel that. That's kind of how I want to operate. And I think those are the three things to answer that.
I like that. No, it's a great balance. And how you mentioned love, that's like the most powerful thing. That's amazing. No, I like that answer. Great answer. I was going to ask you, what is your fundamental why that drives you? Because you sharing your entrepreneurial journey and a little bit about your fitness journey, what continues to drive you and push you through this adversity that you faced recently?
That's a great question. I think it's the fear of one, not living up to my potential, or two, going back to potentially who I used to be. I never want to go backwards. Like the thought of that makes me sick, makes my skin crawl. And also just trying to be the best, like I said before, we got on leader, father, husband that I could be. Like I don't have kids yet, I'm not married yet, but that is a goal. And I feel like I have this like idea in my mind of like what that guy is and how he operates. And I feel like I'm light years away from that, and I want to get there so bad. So it's like I'm just so determined to check every box that I can every day. That's why for me it's like it's not so much of like, well, I have to do this thing. It's like, well, this is a non-negotiable, man. Like it's not a conversation. Like me showing up to the gym is just an afterthought. Whereas like 5, 6 years ago, it was a struggle. So I mean, there's just so much inside of it. But does that answer it for you?
Oh, for sure. No, that was very in depth.
Okay, good.
Really.
Just making sure.
Yeah, no, and then playing off of that, with that being said, what advice would you give to someone who is currently feeling stuck in their current circumstances?
So when you say stuck, is there any specifics to it?
Not necessarily. I would say just feeling like they may be powerless or maybe like stuck in a certain rut, feeling like they're not sure how to break free of a cycle.
I think the biggest thing that comes to my mind is going to be environment because that was a big reason as to why I left New York and moved to Florida. It's no shade. I have amazing friends and family where I grew up. There's no negative things that I could really say there because I honestly had a fantastic upbringing. But I just got to a place with the vision that I had for myself, career wise, financially, all the things that we're trying to do. Because let's be honest, man, being a business owner, self employed entrepreneur is not something everybody does. So like when you're trying to go that path of like, hey, I'm going to go quit my 9 to 5 and be an online fitness trainer, people look at you and like, what are you talking about, bro? Like even in my family, I remember when I was coming out of school and I was working construction, like I was saying before, I have had conversations with my family members like, why would you leave this job? Because I was making good money. In their eyes, they're like, go get a job in the union, do your 30, 40 years, get the salary, pension benefits, retire, go buy a house, raise a kid family, do, the white picket fence type deal. And I was just like, that's just not me, man. And I thought I had to subscribe to that. I thought that was going to be my life. And that's why when I was sharing the depression and taking my life, the reason that I was getting into that mindset was because I didn't see a reason to like a means to an end. I thought,
I see.
right? Like I thought, okay, if this is going to be every day for the next 30, 40 years, I'm toast, bro. There's no way, and that's where it clicked for me. I was like, well, I got to do something. Started getting to the gyms, made the transformation, got curious, found a coach, started going in, and I really haven't looked back since.
Wow. No, that's very powerful because yeah, I agree completely that those closest to us try to they have their own perception of us and our paths, and so they want to keep us safe and they want us to play it safe and not, venture too far, not try too hard. So those who love us most tend to be the ones who discourage us the most. Yeah, yeah,
It's crazy,
unfortunately.
man. They like you said, I think you worded it really nicely there. They want the best for us. They care about us, but in a certain capacity, like my mom, for example, like she wants to keep me safe. So like for her, she's never been an entrepreneur. She was a hairdresser and still is for her entire life. Right? So like for me to go and do that, wow, it's risky. That's crazy. No paycheck. You're insane. No, you can't do that. And like she's very supportive of me now, and I think she always has been. But I think there's always been a little bit of that conversation where like, you could always do this. And it's like, I don't know. There's a lot that goes into that.
Oh yeah, no, I completely relate to that though. With my family, same situation. They see you a certain way, and they can't quite comprehend why you would do that or why you would put yourself at so much risk when really you're just trying to be true to yourself and follow your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Getting into a more of a fitness and sustainable health section, how has fitness shaped other areas of your life beyond just physical health?
Well, it's so good, man. Confidence, 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 confidence. There was a lot of my life where I was not confident because I hated the way I looked. It's really difficult to shake the reflection, man. It's like you can't really escape that. And I think the way that you feel about yourself is so correlated to how you speak, to how you act, to how you carry yourself. Like it sounds shitty, but I just think that people respect those who are in shape way more than those who aren't. I've been a part of a lot of elite masterminds, and it's funny, man. People are so drawn to comment on my physique, like, "Oh my dude, you must work out." Like every person's got to make that joke. I'm like, "I know, bro. I've never heard it before," and I love it. Like in the back of my mind, like I love the attention. I will be honest. I don't train for that reason, but getting the recognition feels great. Everybody wants to be seen, man. If we're just being honest, you know, especially females, they love to be complimented. You lost weight. You look great. They're like, "Oh my god, oh my god," So I lost my train of thought there, but I don't know if that answered the original question.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. That it did. That's so true that people do really treat you differently. If working out shouldn't be for that reason, it shouldn't be for
Right.
only aesthetic, but there's so many other benefits that come with it, with people respecting you more, giving you so I completely agree. Yeah, it all comes together for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I started training I just wanted abs, bro, like so bad. And then I finally got abs and I thought an eight pack was gonna like land me chicks. And it's like it only landed me like dudes saying like, "Oh dude, how'd you get the eight pack?" So it's funny to think back on that.
It's like all of those memes.
It's true though. They're
It
so
is.
true, man.
It is. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Man, what kind of a fun question mixed in, and then I have other deep questions, but
Go for it.
when you're working out, what's your go-to song or playlist that gets you going?
I don't know if, I don't know if you want me to share, bro. I chatted about this in my men's group last week. So I listen to some pretty heavy metal, bro. Like the ones where it's like that you can't even understand what they're saying. Screamo, dude. Like mix in, things. I was trying to think of like Slipknot, things that aren't really like that crazy, but I don't know, man. Like some of those like underground, like there's even like these random like German bands that just they hit different, man. And I don't know what it is. I get like the chills, and I go to like a different place, and I can't move the same weight or have the same intensity unless that's in my ears. You know, I love it. I
Interesting.
really love it, dude.
So I definitely want to research at least one of these songs, the
I'll send it to
specifically
you after the call.
the German screamo one. That sounds interesting.
It really is. Like they don't. It's not like they speak German. They speak English, but it's like it's just a really, really different vibe, man. It's something that is extremely unique, and it might sound a little weird, but I don't know. When you're lifting weights, man, to that stuff, and a good pre-workout, it's nuts, dude.
I believe it. Kind of gets you in that trance.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, fair enough. What are you most proud of, would you say, along your fitness journey and your entrepreneurial journey? So it's kind of a two-part question.
Honestly, I want to say my client success, and I want to say the impact that I've had on the people that I've worked with. For me, that is the most fulfilling thing. Like finances are cool, bodybuilding trophies cool, like whatever. But like I get emotional thinking back to like some of the impact that I've had on people's lives, man. For me, like that is the number one most important thing. Because I think at the end of the day, like that's why we do what we do, and to see somebody else make a change for themselves and then watch their family do it too, man, I can't even put that into words.
That is a beautiful thing, and that answer is amazing because you're so value focused, which it shows how passionate you are about what you do. So,
Thank you, brother.
great answer. Seriously. How do you, I know you're so busy. How do you integrate fitness into your busy lifestyle? Do you work out, a specific split 5 days a week?
Yeah. So my coach has control of that. He does a lot of my programming, my training, my supplements, all of that because I don't like to think about it too much. But to answer your question, I only train like 4 days a week, man. Like it's people laugh at me because they're like, there's no way you only train 4 hours a week," and I'm like, "Yeah, dude," because like you know this too. You could only push the muscle to a certain degree of stimulus. And for me, is like we're more of like a low volume, high intensity approach. So like I go in there and I only do probably like 2, 3 working sets, but like I'm lifting heavy and I'm going to the brink. Like I'm that guy in the gym that's like making all the noise that's making people's heads turn. That's just how I, because like I don't need to be there. And I think this is the misconception, especially for beginners too. They think that time there equates to more gains when it's actually the opposite. It's the quality of what you're doing. And that's why having a game plan is critical because I don't walk in there, with my chicken, like the head cut off, right? I'm not trying to like, oh, what am I doing today? It's like, no, I know exactly what moves, what reps, the tempo, the cadence, the rest, everything from top to bottom before I even walk in. So it's 40 minutes to an hour in and out, maybe 3 to 5 moves, 2 working sets, pushing myself to failure, and that's it. And I know that I know what I'm getting because I know what I'm doing, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Sounds very focused and purpose driven. efficient and effective. So that's great.
I mean, I don't know. Do you want to be in the gym for 3 hours? Probably not.
No, no, I can't stand that. I'm very the same way. High intensity and also with frequency being more important than volume.
Right.
I'd rather. I'm still not going to go in there multiple days. 5, 6 days a week, but three, four, if I can, maybe a fifth day, but more so, with one of those being cardio focused or mixed in. So I completely agree. Yeah, an hour max, in and out. That's it.
In and out, dude. Because realistically, like past that threshold, the quality of your sets is probably diminishing anyway. Like
Oh
really,
yeah,
you don't have that much energy and food in you, bro.
yeah, and there's no reason for it to take that long unless you're
No,
turning into like social hour.
right. And
Yeah,
that's the issue too, man. A lot of people go there and just chat it up. I'm the guy, like, I got my hoodie on, my headphones. I'm like, don't look.
yeah.
I don't need to do all that bullshit.
You don't want to talk to anyone. You just want to get in the zone. I get that.
I know, and my friends probably think I'm like a weirdo, but and some of them have had the conversations like, dude, I love you, but like, let's not talk when I'm at the gym. Like, come to my house, call me, like, whatever, but like, not right now.
Yeah, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. It's an escape. It's for you to get in the zone. It's an escape.
I don't know if escape is the best word, but I do agree with
That's
that to an
true.
extent. No, I mean, listen, if that's you, man, all good. I do agree with it to an extent, though. Like, it is like the 1 hour that I get to really pour into myself, because I'm
Yes,
always, I think that's what you meant, right?
that's yeah. You're right. I'm glad you corrected that because escape sounds like running away
Yeah,
or
I didn't know.
you know.
Yeah, I was
You're
just
right.
making sure, bro. You okay?
Need to talk. No, I'm playing.
Yeah, no. That's
I
good.
know you're right. That 1 hour to focus entirely on yourself.
Yeah, because you're always
Yes.
pouring into other people, things, your business, your relationship, your family. I mean, there's so many boxes to check, man. So, like, for me, that is my time, and it's very sacred to me, especially, as a bodybuilder, too. I'm sure you get that.
Oh, for sure. No, that makes sense. And while we're on the subject of training and gyms, I know you travel a lot, and I know you're currently in South Florida. But what is the coolest gym or your favorite gym you've ever been to? Anywhere in the world?
Um, all right, so two come to mind. I would say if you're talking about like really good equipment and like an interesting atmosphere, I'd probably say Alphaland in Texas. Have you ever been there?
No, no, I've been to Texas, but I haven't been to that gym.
So that's Christian Guzman's gym. You know Guzman?
I've heard of him.
He's the founder of Alpha Elite, and that gym is crazy. I mean, it's a little like influencer central. So like you'll walk in, there's going to be like 6 different YouTube videos being filmed with like all the people. I'm serious. So it's not really like maybe the best environment to train, but it is a really cool, like huge facility with a ton of equipment, like some really good lighting. It's very aesthetic. It's really like new and modern. The other one that comes to mind is the Tulum Jungle Gym. Have you ever been to Mexico?
No, but I've seen that on Instagram, like by all the celebrities.
Yeah, so I went there, man. It was really cool. It's interesting because like you're literally in the sand with like these like jungle pulley systems. Like it is really cool, and plus like Tulum is a really good environment. I actually spent a month there back in April of last year while I was waiting for my girlfriend to get her visa. So that was a really interesting time, but it was really cool, man. It wasn't the best workout because like the equipment's like okay, but it's still cool to like be outside, be in the sun, in the sand, and like get a pump like that. It was pretty dope.
That is cool. Yeah, no, I definitely want to add that to my list for sure.
You should. It's really dope.
When getting into the training side, I kind of skipped over a question, but what are the most common mistakes, would you say, when you see people just getting started in building a sustainable fitness routine? So with training.
I hear this a lot. Like it's all nutrition, and like yes, the food is important, but it's also the things that you do outside of the gym. It's the sleep, it's the water, it's not drinking like a fish. It's like actually training like you have a reason to. I think there's a lot of people that I see who kind of just like go through the motions. They do their 8 to 10 reps. They have a little weight on the bar, but they're not really pushing themselves. They kind of get good sleep, but they watch a lot of Netflix. They stay up late. They go out. They have a lot of restaurant food that's packed with butter and oils and all this stuff. Well, I just can't lose weight. I don't understand. Well, if you didn't eat out of restaurants for a few weeks, you'd probably drop a lot of inflammation. You probably sleep better. You train better, and all of a sudden it starts to build in the direction that you need. And that's really the issue. Is I think a lot of people fail to build momentum because their habits are just not in a good position. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, for sure. Especially going out to eat, all the seed oils they use
Bad,
cause
bro.
inflammation. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not good.
And it's so powerful because you're right, the habits stack
Yeah.
for sure.
They work either for you or against you, and it's very easy to lose momentum, but it's hard to gain. I think it was one of my first mentors that shared that with me, and it really stuck out because it is true, man. Regardless of whatever avenue or vessel you want to apply it to, it is really challenging to stay in the groove sometimes, and that's why having support, accountability, and somebody to rely on. That's why I have a coach, man, because like it's very easy to kind of just cut corners when nobody's looking. But when I have somebody to report to, it's like I'm not fucking off, you know.
Oh yeah, every coach really needs a coach. Everybody needs a mentor, for sure.
You have a coach, right, or no?
I don't right now, but actually, but I'm saying that because I recognize the importance. I do need one. I
Yeah,
will
no doubt.
find. Yeah, no, we'll definitely talk.
Oh, dude.
The with the diet, do you have any specific type of? I don't want to necessarily call it a diet, but
Yeah.
eating style.
No, it's a good question, man. Like, I don't do like any like keto or carnivore. I'm more of like a macro approach, but I'm not like the bro macro, like the typical bodybuilder who just like fills it to fill it. I'm a little, I guess, picky when it comes to like what I eat. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just came off the tail end of like a 9 month contest prep, and I did 2 shows. So like, I definitely have been giving myself a little leeway.
Good.
I give myself a little bit of freedom with the reverse, maybe a little bit too much, according to my coach. But to answer your question, I focus a lot on like eat a lot of chicken, ground turkey, egg whites, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. Do a lot of rice, obviously. I do enjoy vegetables. I use the air fryer a lot. Have you ever messed around with the Ninja Creamy? Do you have one of those?
No, not really. I've seen recipes. You talked about the Ninja Blender, or
Yeah, bro, that turns it into ice cream. Sick.
oh, really?
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, it's tough because like you don't want to be doing a lot of protein powders all the time because that
Yeah.
definitely hurts my gut. But that's just me. But yeah, dude, some of those recipes like we got one and like it actually like is legitimately like ice cream, bro. It's pretty crazy.
So you're telling me this is from Ninja, but it's specifically to make ice cream. It's an
Correct.
ice
Yeah.
cream maker, and you throw a little ice in there, throw a little ingredients, and
So
then
I mean,
it's
my girlfriend's really good at it. You have to be methodical, but like I mean, I could send you recipes. You just have it's kind of like baking. You know how baking is like so concise.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to that. It's like you got to make sure you put the right stuff in. But if you nail it correctly, bro, it comes out good, really good.
That's a good. That gave me. I want to try that. That's a good gift from my
You
girlfriend.
got it. It's a good gift. It's also like a really like good way to have some quality snacks that fit the macros.
That's awesome. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I got you.
So then, with that being said, any cheat meals that you have, or is it the ice cream
Yeah.
that you make, the homemade ice cream?
So in the off season, my coach and I we do usually about one free meal per week, and I usually like to have that on date nights. So Fridays date nights with my girlfriend, and I texted you that the other day because it's like religious because we've kind of got to that place where like it's got to be in the calendar, it's got to be the time because we have like opposing schedules. So it's like having that time is really really important for our relationship is what we found. But yeah, I would probably say like once a week. My go-to, I love sushi. I love Chick-fil-A. I'm a sucker for a good burger and pizza, man. Like a burger, pizza, cookie. That's the combo for me, man. If I could have all three every day, I would, but that would be a balloon.
That's not bad though. I mean, I thought you were gonna say something sweet like a dessert, and so a good meal like a burger. That's not bad.
I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I'll face like a whole box of crumble cookies. Have you had a crumble cookie?
Yeah, they're good, but they're so heavy though.
They're heavy, but whew, man, those things are no joke.
Yeah, yeah, they are definitely on another level when it comes
Like
to
60 grams of fat per cookie, another level.
seriously like a heart attack.
Yeah.
Man. I've got two last questions in this section. What simple lifestyle shifts have had the greatest impact on your overall well-being? So not necessarily just fitness, but overall well-being. And I know this is general, but
No, it's cool, man.
whatever comes to you.
I would say steps, like walking consistently. I really overlooked that when I was first starting out because I was like, "What do you mean walking? Like, why does this matter?" Well, there's for so many reasons, right? Digestion, regulating sleep, energy expenditure, and also it's enjoyable, man. Like I like to walk with my girl, my dog outside. When I was living with my parents, I would take a lot of time, with my mom, my brothers, and it's just good, man. Get outside and just like get some fresh air. And I tell clients a lot of times too, it's something that gets overlooked. I program it in like, hey, just go for like a 10-minute walk after a meal. So if they're eating 3, 4 meals and they do 10, 15 minutes, boom, that's an hour, 10K steps, depending on the pace, if you're not like lagging ass. But I would say steps and sleep. Everyone likes to talk about sleep, but I also think the quality matters. And that's why I had these little blue light glasses on because I'm very like, dude, I'm talking like I'm going to Disney World this weekend and meet up with my boys. And I'm literally putting a mattress in the bed of my pickup truck. Like I'm bringing a mattress to this kid's house because like I take my sleep that serious. Like I got like an eye mask. I have a whole routine. Like I don't play games.
So the mattress in the bed of the truck, is that for like naps or is that for
It's like if I travel like a driving distance and I don't have like a hotel, like for example, like my buddy Ben, like he has his own house, he has multiple rooms, but he doesn't have an extra mattress. He has like a pull-out couch, and I was like, I'm not, yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, I was like, I'm not sleeping on the couch. I love you to death, but I'm literally gonna bring the extra mattress that I have because when me and my girlfriend moved in together, she had her own, which is bigger than
I
mine,
see.
so I still have the other one from my previous apartment. So I like I'm gonna bring that with me, you know.
That makes sense. I wasn't sure if you were car camping or if it was like naps on the
No, no, no.
road.
I mean, camping's really cool, man. I went for the first time last year. It was dope.
It is cool. Where was that? Where did you end up going?
That was in Canada, so I don't know if I shared this with you, but my girlfriend is Canadian. So when she was in the process of getting her visa, I actually lived in West Kelowna in British Columbia for 6 months.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience, man. Like being on the West Coast like that and spending that much time there, and like the mountains and the time zone. It was interesting, man. It was really cool.
It's so beautiful over there. I've been to Banff on the west
Okay,
side.
Banff is crazy, man. Yeah,
Man, the elk were walking around the street 10 feet from us.
crazy.
That's cool that you experienced that.
I mean, that's the freedom, man. That's what we're talking about.
True, true. What you've built and what I'm working on building.
That's the lifestyle.
Thank you. What are you currently training for? Any goals?
So, with just coming off the national stage and not breaking second callouts, there's a part of me that really wants to prep again and do another show. But the reality is, man, is like the gap that I need to fill is a size issue and a muscle maturity issue, which really can only be resolved through time. And I took 2 years off from my first show to do these batches. So, to answer your question, I'm not in a rush to get back on stage because honestly, like
Okay.
this prep took a lot out of me. But also, man, I'd be lying to you, John, if I wasn't interested in pursuing other areas of fitness too. Like I've thought about jujitsu, martial arts. Like bodybuilding is awesome, and I do love it. But I think there is a lot to be said for being able to defend yourself properly. And I briefly messed around with like boxing and some other things, and like a lot of football, baseball, basketball, all that stuff. But I don't know. I've never really gotten into mixed martial arts, and it's something that I've been thinking about.
It's a good idea. I mean, it sounds like you, growing up, you were really athletic, and then you can always come back to the bodybuilding in a year or two. And why not use that fitness foundation that you have and jump into strongman competition or powerlifting or MMA, boxing?
Yeah, I do want to be clear. I don't think I'll ever go the powerlifting route. And I mean that in a nice way possible. I just don't think it's me. Like my joints
Okay.
like hurt even thinking about it. I think I'll always partially train like a bodybuilder because I really do love looking the part. I am obsessed with improving my physique and I'm just being honest. But I also I think I want to throw in maybe a little jujitsu or like maybe a little like hand moving because I did enjoy boxing, but I was dropping weight so fast. So boxing training is a lot of cardio and stuff. So trying to be a bodybuilder at the same time doesn't really work.
That's tough, but I do understand that yeah, bodybuilding is always going to be a part of you, and you just want to incorporate some of the MMA side.
Yeah,
Boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai could be good.
maybe because like you see those videos online of like bodybuilders in the boxing ring and they just look like these stiff cardboard.
Yeah,
And I'm kind of like that right now. I don't want to be like that. I hate it. So got to get a little bit more mobile. And I do some yoga here and there, but I could be better with that.
that's good though. It's cool that you have the mindset of always learning, always growing, and no, that's a great idea. I'm curious to see what you end up pursuing.
Yeah, I mean, you might see me rolling around a mat or something. Who knows? But just to expand on that a little bit, I think remaining a student, I should say, is just so important. I think to success in life, really in any aspect. I walk in any room and I always say to myself, like, I can learn something from anybody, yourself included. And I think that's what's really powerful about viewing life and people that way. It's like you never know what someone's been through. You never know what you can grab from them. And if you sit there and you just think that you got it all figured out, you're missing out.
You're right. Yeah, you can learn from anyone. So true.
Why would you limit yourself? How does that make sense?
That's so true. No, it doesn't make sense to me how some people just don't want any feedback or insight.
Blows my mind, dude. I used to be like
Yeah,
that. I get it, but expand, and that's why we're talking, right?
good, good. Do you have any specific morning rituals or anything that you do with your habits?
I
I feel
do.
like you're a morning. I was gonna say you seem like it.
Yeah. So I played around with this, but the first hour, I just really don't like to be on my phone because I find if I do pick it up really soon, I feel like my stress just goes a little bit higher than normal, and I almost like kind of feel it in my eyes. I don't know if that makes sense if you've ever experienced that, but it's almost like my eyes are a little bit more strained because I'm on my screens a lot. So I find even just delaying that and delaying the caffeine a little bit. So first hour, to answer your question, a little bit of water. I like to try and get outside, especially being in Florida. I try to get as much sun as I can. So, and they say this, Andrew Huberman, he talks about this on his podcast, with the sunlight and the cold therapy, whatever. But we also just got a sauna in the house. So I got a sauna in my garage. So I like to, ground myself, bare feet in the grass, little sun. And now I don't do this every day, to be clear, because I know a lot of people will listen to this and be like, oh my God, he's one of those monk dudes. It's not like that. I'm aware of like, hey, I try to limit the screens, get off the caffeine, drink water first, get in the sun, some sauna, like all of that. I don't like to do a lot of fasting. I love breakfast. I love my breakfast foods. So I like to eat when I get in the morning. And then, the first like hour or whatever, talk to my girl, maybe walk the dog, and then get into work. I do like to try to work as soon as I can. And when I'm in like prep mode, I'll probably go to the gym first in the morning. But now when I'm in the off season, it takes a little bit for me to get going. I like to have a couple of meals in me, and I always feel stronger training in the afternoon. So what I've been doing now that I'm more in the off season is spending the first few hours working, and I've been training in the afternoons, like 2-3 o'clock after a couple of meals.
I see. That's a nice balance, and I like how you listen to your body, and you're not stuck to a rigid schedule.
No, I mean I also have that luxury because I built a business. Not everybody has that, and I understand that. But it's also like, hey, maybe you should be an entrepreneur then. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it definitely has to be earned
Right.
for sure. No, that's cool. I really puts things in perspective because on social media you see people preaching a strict regimen every morning, like cold plunge, then eat avocado toast, and it's so structured, and
Yeah.
life shouldn't be that way. I mean, of course, there's certain things that are non-negotiable, but I think your mindset is the best way to balance it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I mean, because I'll be transparent. Like, I was really rigid for a long time, and it took a toll on me. Where I felt like I was like almost too robotic, where I was losing the fruits of life. So like I have certain things I want to do, but it's like I let myself flow through it throughout the week. Like even if it's like doing my morning prayer meditation like a different spot, like sometimes I do it outside, sometimes in my office, sometimes in my kitchen. But I kind of just like do what I feel, but I still do the same things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Just you just let it flow naturally. You feel like getting some sunlight. You feel like doing a cold plunge. Not that that's just to put in perspective. You just switch up the atmosphere. I like that because that's life. That's you living your life, but having the same structure.
Yeah. Because I used to try and say, well, I have to do this in this order. Like I used to try and do everything in the same order. I did that for like years because my original business coach was like, morning routine, morning routine, morning routine, and I'm like, I get it, but I almost like kind of just did it for the sake of doing it. I don't know if you ever dealt with that, but
Yeah, would you say that in that chapter it kind of made you more focusing on just checking it off like a to-do list
yeah,
instead of living?
yeah. I was very, dude, like I'm talking like so robotic. Like I would plan like every minute of every day.
Wow.
And like it got to a place, man, where actually another quick story in February, almost about a year ago exactly, I ended up in the hospital. And I woke up on Valentine's Day with a whole itinerary planned for my girlfriend. And I woke up thinking I was having a heart attack, like massive chest pains, dude. I'm talking like it felt like there was a 3 foot knife in my chest with like an elephant sitting on it. Like it was so painful, bro. Like I couldn't even walk or breathe. Like I was like gasping for air, and I had a workout scheduled with my posing coach that day, and I had to cancel. I never cancel workouts, and like, long story short, we get in the car. My girlfriend drives me to urgent care. The doctor's like, dude, I think you're having a heart attack. You need to go to the hospital. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I'm 28,
That's
27,
crazy.
27 at the time. So they rush me to the ER. They get me right in the room. And I was like panicking, dude, because like I'd never experienced anything like this.
Yeah.
So they're doing all the EKGs. And then look, get this. Then the doctor comes in the room after a few tests. He's like, hey, man, it's not looking good.
No, it gets worse and worse.
Gets worse. And I'm not gonna lie, John. I probably sat there for a couple minutes. I really thought I was gonna lose my life. I really did. And it's crazy because people say like their lives flash before their eyes. I experienced that. Like I had like a come to Jesus moment to bring this full circle. Like that actually is what led me to God, and that's what brought me to the church. And now a few months later, I got baptized, and that's why I've been really strengthening my faith and trying to walk more with the Lord and watching The Chosen and all these things because like it was in that moment he was like, sit down, and I had just like grinded myself into the ground and I didn't realize it until I came out of it. And after being in the hospital for a few days and paying that bill because I didn't have health insurance at the time, whew, yeah, that was fun, man.
I can only imagine. But so many questions, a lot to unpack there. So, were you, if you don't mind me asking,
Oh, go ahead. I'm an open book.
was it mostly anxiety, or was it actually?
So yeah, to give a little bit more context, they ran every test, and there was nothing. I was perfectly healthy. They were trying to say, well, it's the anabolic steroids. I'm like, dude, listen, like I've taken literally a baseline of tests for like a few months. Like there's no way. There's guys who blast for 20, 30 years and they're fine, you know?
Oh yeah,
But they were trying to run that route. Anyway, yes. I mean, they didn't really give me an answer at the end of the day. After 3 days and all the tests, they were like, yeah, I mean, I guess you're fine. I was like,
wow.
so even to this day, I don't really truly know. I want to chalk it up to some form of like a stress anxiety attack. I just don't know what else to really put it as.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. Probably stress related. The seeing your life flash before your eyes, you literally saw, like flash scenes and kind of the big picture, and wow.
Yeah, it was insane, man. It was something that it's almost difficult to describe. And when I was in the moment, I didn't even realize it was like happening until I came out of it because everything was happening so fast. But from like recognizing something was going on to accepting something was happening to canceling my workout to then canceling my work day because like we had the whole thing, and it was a lot to take in.
Oh yeah. No, that is. And I'm just actually curious when that happened, was it like a few seconds? Because I had an experience myself where this is gonna sound like laughable compared to your experience.
Go ahead. Bro. It's not a comparison.
I was giving blood, and I like if I hurt myself, I don't care, like I don't care about pain. But it's so funny because I was giving blood, and that feeling of just it draining, it just supposedly there's like a reflex where you can pass out,
Hmm.
and it's your body. I was researching it. It's your body's attempt to like save itself, thinking you're bleeding out, so it drops your blood pressure.
Oh wow.
And so I've never passed out in my entire life, but I was just giving blood, just literally for like a physical or something, and I felt like I felt kind of uneasy, and then I had this. It was so weird. And I'm sure this isn't exactly like yours. Yours is much more profound, I'm sure. But it was weird because as I started to pass out, I literally had like all these flash scenes, just
Hmm.
like, and like, it was the weirdest thing.
Crazy.
And then I woke up and I felt like, like I took a nap. It was the weirdest thing. But I mean, of course, this is entirely different. But what was it like for you?
No, I mean, hey, your story's valid too. I want to be clear. It's not a competition because I think that's
Thank you.
important to note there. But yeah, I really don't recall because like I said, it was just all happening so quick. But I do remember a lot of flashes, bro. Like I remember like vividly seeing things from like elementary school and like a day at recess, and then like all of a sudden it was like boom, a high school graduation. And then next thing you know, it was like a baseball game, and I'm like, what is going on here, dude? It's crazy.
That's amazing. And then that inspired you to pursue God.
Yes, because I thought I was going to die that day. And I was like, I think what's really fascinating about that, John, is like in that moment, naturally, I started praying, and I wasn't raised in the church and in practice going, but in that moment, all I did was pray. I was like, please, like, if you give me the opportunity to live again, like, I will be devoted to you. And here I am, and it's crazy, man, because like I didn't anticipate that, but it happened. And then like from there, I was just so curious because I'm like, well, okay, if I wasn't meant to die that day, why am I here? There's got to be a reason. Like, if you're keeping me here, like, tell me what's going on. And then fortunately enough, my girlfriend finds the church that we go to now, Victory in Boca Raton, on Instagram. And we start going, and dude, like the first sermon from the first day hit me right in the chest. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
It's so powerful how when you go to church, oftentimes that's the case where it seems like the sermon is meant for you.
Every time.
Man,
Isn't that wild how that happens?
it is. It is so strange. And congratulations on getting baptized.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. It's
That's
definitely been,
amazing.
it's been a very challenging but rewarding journey so far.
That I can imagine. How have you begun to get even more blessed with since turning more to Christ and following God? How has your life changed? In other words.
Great question. There's been a lot of peace in my heart, a lot more certainty on the vision. Long story short, I actually tore down my business shortly after that. I had I built a team of like 7, 8 team members really fast. We scaled really quickly. But I just, after coming out of the hospital and having that moment, I looked at it and I was like, this isn't it. and unfortunately I had to let some people go. I let a lot of clients go too. I fired like half my client roster, and I was like, I love you guys, but like I can't do this. And you know, it was really challenging, and it still is like something I look back on. It was only a year ago, and I was like, that was crazy because I had spent years building it up to then tear it down to start over again. And that's why, I'm in a different position now, but I'm building it from a place that I'm more aligned with and I'm more excited about. So like it was a little bit of like a step back, but it's gonna spring me ahead and I know that.
Absolutely. It's like God gave you more clarity, a detour, and then on forward.
Yeah. He was like, oh, he's like, you want to follow me now? Okay, here we go. I was like, I wasn't ready for it, but here we are.
That's amazing. So, with everything, all the clarity that you have had, what is your vision for the next, would you say, 5 years? And we're getting towards the end.
It's okay. I mean, I have time, man. So
Okay.
I was recently approached by a good friend of mine about a another business opportunity, which I'm really excited for. Do you know who Andy Elliott is?
Sounds very familiar, but I'm not sure off the top of my head.
You can check him out after the episode. He's like a big sales trainer. They have a huge company. I think they're based out of either Utah or Vegas, one of the two. Anyway, huge social media presence, and I, in 5 years, want to be something like that. I'm not like fixated on speaking on stages. I mean, I've spoken a few communities. I probably will do some speaking stuff, which is crazy because public speaking was like my biggest fear when I first started my business. But I would say that. But I think similar to what I'm doing now with helping mentor a few guys on building their own businesses, that's something that's really fulfilling. I want to go that route. I'm really passionate about sales and entrepreneurship and business. And like that's where I geek out. Like fitness is great. It'll always be a piece of me. But like I'm really curious about the other stuff. And I think sales is such an important skill set that a lot of people lack and don't understand. And I think there's a huge stigma around that. And like I want to be somebody to say, like, no, like selling's good if you know how to do it properly. Because at the end of the day, like everyone's gonna buy stuff. People buy shit every day, really crappy stuff on Amazon,
That's true.
right?
That is very true.
If they could be not persuaded, but helped into a position where they're gonna buy something that benefits them, it's a disservice for me not to give that. And I do believe that.
True. To better guide them in a sense.
Yeah. But I have to be educated and skilled in order to do that. Otherwise, it's gonna come off like the sleazy car salesman that everyone hates, right?
No, that's true. And I like that. That's I can definitely see you on stage.
Thank
And
you, bro.
you actually, no, definitely. And you could actually even, like, you could do it now. You have all the credibility. The first time I talked to you, all the information was just flowing and it was inspirational. And, like, I learned so much from you. It just, not knowing you, let's say a couple months ago or a month ago, or, before I had first had that conversation with you,
Mhm.
in that first conversation, I could see you as someone on stage speaking about sales, marketing, structuring your business, all of that.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate
And inspiration with your personal story with yeah, so you could this year you could do that.
it.
For real.
That means a lot to me. Thank you. And sometimes I feel like I need to, like I was saying before with the movie question of like, well, I got to go do another 5 things to be qualified. But it's like, and this is something that's really hit me in the face recently. And I want to share this with you and everybody listening. My current mentor, Nick, he told me this or shared this with me on one of our support calls a few weeks ago. But like, there's no rules when it comes to like business and entrepreneurship. And I think it's fascinating because a lot of the times we think we need a degree, a certification, but in reality, like you said, well, if you've walked the walk, right, and you have the experience, you are qualified. And sometimes I even second guess that, but it's like no one's going to sit there and say, well, does this guy have a certification? In my 5 years of coaching, there's only been one person that asked it. One person. It was a really interesting conversation. I mean, I got nothing to hide. I mean, I literally have like the medals behind me and stuff. I was like, here you go. I mean, cool, but
It is strange though that someone would, value that more than your experience.
it was when I was first starting. So like, I get it. Like it was like I think my first like few months. So like I could understand the skepticism because like you got to start messy, and the matter of the situation is like probably like the first 6-12 months. I had no idea what I was doing, even with a mentor. I still felt like, oh my god, what is going on? And you probably resonate with that. There's so many
Oh
boxes.
yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah, but then again, tell me if you agree, but I feel like that's a part of getting into any new career, that imposter syndrome. And then the more credibility, credentials, knowledge, experience, we can get rid of that. But then oftentimes it can still linger.
Mhm.
even so, like now, like you're so credible. You could talk to so many people and you don't feel comfortable yet. Like you're perfectly credible to speak on stage, share your story, inspire others. So I guess with me saying that, more so, I'm excited for you and I'm trying to motivate you to do it.
Thanks, man. I mean, if you ever need somebody to help you out with an event or anything, I'm happy to lend a hand. But it's funny because like I second guess it sometimes, and I think we all do. And I think to that point here, John, like I think we're all going to deal with imposter syndrome to a degree, but I think it's always boiling back to which story are you feeding here, and what are you choosing to do with that, and that's what's important.
I like that. No, so much value in this.
It's a
Got
good
a
one.
couple more. Thank you. No, for sure. I'm grateful for you joining me. There's so much value. I've got a couple left. I was gonna say, what's one business or personal failure that taught you an invaluable lesson?
Oh, it's a tough one. Can you say that one more time? I want to make sure I'm soaking this in right.
Yes, and if you need more time, I can come back to that. But it is, what's one business or personal failure that taught you an invaluable lesson?
I think the one that sticks out in my mind was getting cut from the middle school baseball team in seventh grade. And I actually just had this conversation with my girlfriend the other day because baseball was like my life, dude. Like I was on the tournament teams, like my parents were paying for all the training and stuff. And for me to try out for the team and get cut, I was mortified, dude. But I took that as fuel to try to do something about it. Sure enough, my senior year, I became a captain. We went on a huge run. We ended up playing in the state championship. We were the first ones in our high school's history to win the Long Island championship. And I was pretty much, I don't want to say carrying, but I was like locked in, bro. I mean, I had RBIs, like multiple RBIs every game. I was just, I was
Carrying the team.
I was a catcher, man. I was just like throwing guys out left and right. Like I don't even know what I was on, bro. I just like it was like my entire life was waiting for that moment. I just played my guts out like every game, and it was like a historic run in our school's history. I mean, I remember the championship game that we played against Massapequa. There was like 8,000 people there, and for like a high school game, that was nuts, dude.
That's a lot of people
It
for
was
any high school.
insane, bro. It was the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life, honestly.
Nice. Wow. That is cool. So
I don't
that was
know. What's the original question? I don't even know. I just like blanked out for a sec.
I mean, no, that sounds like an inspiring moment. Was that sort of a turning point for you to would you say would you say you learned a lesson from that in a sense?
Um, you, when you get told no, you don't have to accept it. Because I've been told no a lot of times, whether it's like girls or like jobs. I mean, I was a very piss poor student. I barely graduated high school. I almost failed out of college multiple times. Like I would DM girls all the time, like I'm not interested. So like, I but I just would keep going. I just like that's something that my mom laughs about to this day. She's like, you just don't quit, man. I'm just like, nope, it's not in me. I don't accept it. And actually further to that point, when I transferred colleges to the University of Albany, where I got my bachelor's degree, I actually walked on to the Division One team, and I wasn't recruited. And I actually tried out in 2016, and they cut me. So then I went and played on the club team, and then I came back, tried out again, and then I made the team. And
Nice.
not only that, in between that, the summer between, I played in an elite summer league that I paid for while working the job myself. So I worked the job in the summer to pay for the league to then try out it was a 1-day tryout that I had trained for the entire year. And it was either I made the team or I just wasted all the time and money, and I made the team.
It's like a movie.
It kind of is. And then I didn't really do anything with it because I stepped away because they're like, you're not going to play. And I was like, all right, fuck you guys. I'm out of here. So it was really all for nothing, honestly, but it still was cool.
Yeah, the discipline you learned, the focus, working towards a goal, that is cool.
You're right.
Second to
I guess I do got some cool stories. I completely forget about them sometimes.
yeah, no, you really do. You might not think that they're cool, but to the outside perspective, they really are.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
No, for sure. Two last questions on my part. What are some parallels between entrepreneurship and fitness that most people don't realize?
Man, who are you when nobody's watching is a big one, because in the gym you could just like dog the reps and nobody's gonna come knocking on your door. It's the same thing with business. Like you don't have to do certain things, especially when you're working for yourself. A lot of people say, well, how do you stay motivated? It's not really motivated. Like I've been like I was sharing earlier, there's been some like really tough times recently and some revelations of potentially switching career paths and doing other things. But it's like if I'm going to make certain moves for myself, like who am I to dog it when nobody's watching? And I think that's a huge representation of somebody's character, because I could just like not do the thing. Nobody's going to come like tag me for it, you know? I don't know. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Yes, and that reminds me, before answering that, of when you said integrity. It comes down to integrity. So basically, holding yourself accountable to doing what you know needs to be done or you know is right, regardless of outside influence, basically.
Essentially, yeah. Because if we only did things when we felt like it, we probably wouldn't get anywhere, would we?
Oh yeah. So and no, and with that in alignment would be not cutting corners. So it all kind of comes together. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's kind of the same principle, right?
Yeah. Huh. And then would you like to share any specific special message that you feel you want your audience to hear or this audience to hear? Anything that you're compelled to share in any aspect?
Yeah. So I'm very big on mental health, very big on that. And for me personally, I really enjoy thinking about, or should say, knowing that things are going to be okay. And if I could say really anything, I think it's that of just like, hey, you might not be where you want to be right now, but just know that there are better days ahead. And it sounds like a little corny and cliche, but like everything's going to be all right. You know, it's not that serious. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform, to look a certain way, to have status, whatever, but it's just not that deep, man. You know, and like it's pretty freeing to really accept that. And that's where I've gotten to recently of just like, it's okay, man. I don't have all the answers, but it's like liberating in a sense to say that to you and online. It's like, I just don't really give a shit, man. You know, like I'm going to sit here and do all the things I got to do, but I'm not going to pretend to be somebody I'm not. That doesn't make any sense because I did that for a while when I was first posting online. Like I would try to put this like mask on of like, I'm Coach Sal, you know, listen to me. And it's like, you're actually creating a bigger gap with people that are trying to listen to you. And that's where I've dropped in now through a lot of healing work and breath work and meditations and trips and mushrooms and all kinds of other stuff. You know, it's a lot of crazy things I've done, man, you know? So that's where I'm at.
Man, that's a lot to unpack as well. Like I feel like we need to have another episode down the road to
I was
like
going to
kind of
say,
break
man,
down
yeah, we
everything.
might have to do a part two here.
For sure. No, definitely. Actually, I do want to do with 20 the first 20 people to do episodes with. So this is number 16. So the first 20, I want to do a second episode with once I have a lot of followers down the road.
Nice.
Not that that matters, but just to be, symbolic of the growth
Yeah.
and also to provide a platform once again to share more. So yeah, I definitely look forward to it. But last question on my part for now is what is next for you? How are you continuing to push your boundaries in your personal fitness or career?
Man, you got some great questions, dude.
Thank you.
I could
Means a
tell you
lot.
really put some thought into this.
Thank you.
What's next for me? I think a big thing is working on my past traumas is something that I've really been focused on probably the last like 12 months after that whole hospital situation because I've been forced to look internally and just try to become a better man because I think that we go through life and we experience things and we don't realize that they're holding us back because they're patterns like we spoke about. So like I'm trying to not like learn new things, but I am, but also unlearn a lot of previous behaviors. And I think unlearning things is actually more challenging than absorbing new material. So I think,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so I think that's kind of where I'm headed is try to unlearn things to see a new version. And at the same time, continue to push myself and level up. I think a big focus that I had coming into 2025 is networking um, and really trying to do more things like this that are not so fixated on business growth because I'm obsessed with that. Oh, but it's like, what about the other things, man? Like when you text me, you're like, yo, like maybe we'll meet up and get coffee. I was like, that's my shit. You know, like let's go work out and like do something like that. You know, because like I'm so like in my bubble, eat, gym, work, sleep routine, like blah 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 blah. You know, so I'm trying to just experience life a little bit more. You know, how about you?
I would say similar. I value the networking side and breaking out of that routine and being spontaneous and trying to live life while operating from within that structure to continue to grow and make progress. So I have to say I really respect your balance because you seem to have this balance of maintaining the discipline and the structure and the growth, but yet somehow you found this perfect way of blending it with spontaneity and building relationships and networking and living life. So it seems like you have the perfect balance of that structure, but that freedom, if that makes
Trying my
sense.
best, yeah, because that is really like the goal of trying to. And I got this from a colleague of mine. His name's Steve. He's a business consultant, and if he listens to this, he's a great friend of mine. I love him. He's actually still a client of mine. Great dude. Anyway, when we were working together on some of the consulting stuff, he always used to start with our meetings of just hammering it into my brain, beginning with the end in mind, and always reverse engineering it and trying to think of, okay, well, what is the actual goal and outcome here? And what steps do I need to take to get there? And that's really what I've tried to focus on. So to bring that back to what you were saying, like the way that I'm doing things is very methodical because like I have a vision and I want to execute that. So it's like I'm not willing to accept or tolerate other things that are not in alignment with that. That's why I don't go out, I don't drink, I don't hang out with people I don't want to. Like I'm very meticulous with my time, almost to a fault, man. Like I was saying, like I need to put myself out there a little bit more because like if it was up to me, like I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
That's amazing, though. No, it seems like everything is for a reason. So very purpose driven.
Yeah.
Good, good. Where can everyone find you? What social media would you like to share? Also tag everything in the bottom when we launch this website. How would you like to direct listeners to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Salfit, SALFIT. It should come up there. I do have a podcast of my own, so it's also on Apple and Spotify. So we may have to switch roles here and get you on there too. I'm probably gonna, if you could, man, send this over to me. I'll probably post it on mine too, if that's cool.
Yeah, 100% for sure.
But my podcast is called "Shift Your Mind, Change Your Life" with Coach Sal. And I might change it. I don't know. I originally started a few years ago, but I actually banked. I think I hit like 404 episodes as of like the other day. I went on a
Whoa,
sprint, man, for like the first year. I was doing like 3 to 5 a week, and I have some good guests on there too, man. It's really cool. I would
400
say
episodes.
400. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I didn't really have a goal of like a certain number I wanted to hit. I kind of just like hit a flow and just started riffing it. There's a lot on there, which I'm really thankful for. So I would say the Instagram, the podcast. I mean, TikTok's the same username. YouTube. I actually do have some YouTube videos on there as well. You can just type in my name, Sal Vittorio, and I'm in the process of finalizing. I've recorded all of my show days, so I have those on there too, which is really cool. So you guys can check that out too if you want.
That's amazing. A lot of value. This episode was awesome. So I really do appreciate you joining me, sharing all this value to the listeners. And that concludes episode 16 with Sal, but we'll definitely have to talk again in the near future.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you having me on. It was a blast.
Thank you.